You didn't go to a room with the planets in it. You are the
Oh,
container of the planets.
I love that for you, Stevie. Being
Do not start with that.
I'm having a hard time accepting this, like how Lizzie says it.
It was like I saw this Star Wars ship and Stevie is the thing and the planets dance within that. I think in our first session, Stevie said something like, Lizzie, you've been in some hard cycle for the past 30 years and the cycle's ending. Mind you, I'm 44.
Holy
So
crap. What?
the bulk of my life. And it felt so
Today
validating.
we're talking about astrology and energy, and we're getting personal. We've had these two on together to help us all better understand ourselves, but this time the tables are turned. We've paired up two of our soul sisters and Seeking Center guides again. This time we have Lizzie Cutler and Stevie Calista here with us, and we can't wait to find out what transpired when they swapped sessions with each other. As many of you know, Lizzie helps you get unstuck and moves your energy back into alignment with her own energy healing technique. Plus, her past life quantum healing sessions help you uncover and heal the root causes of physical, emotional, or spiritual issues, and ultimately facilitate a conversation with your soul. And Stevie is a passionate astrologer who transforms curiosity into cosmic wisdom. Stevie's approach makes astrology accessible and empowering, helping you embrace your true self. In addition to offering insights into your astrological birth chart, she's also developed programs for those who want to be in alignment with their unique soul blueprint and live on purpose. Karen and I have no idea what they've learned or experienced during this time together. So let's get going and find out with all of you. Hi, Lizzie. Hi, Stevie.
Lizzie, Stevie.
Hi, thanks for having us back.
Becoming one of our favorite things to do. It's like a Harry Potter episode when you have two of the magicians
It's so true.
together to share their stories. So
yeah, we're not the only ones curious because these have become very popular, these episodes. So
it's been so fun because there's only so much that I can do for myself. And even yesterday I was doing edits on myself and thinking, I need to call Stevie again because something is happening here. And it's hard to work on myself. So it's nice having people that I know and love and trust to help me along the way now.
Yeah, so supportive. So necessary. I've realized after working actually with Lizzie and trading services that like this is really necessary for me.
Because I think especially when you have your own expertise, so much of you in both of your worlds is helping other people.
Yeah.
And there's a vulnerability too, that is a big leap too between the two of you of being able to say, yes, I can do this work. However, I need a little boost myself and putting yourself out there. So that's a big deal.
Yeah. So let's talk about Stevie giving Lizzie an astrological reading. So first, Stevie, can you just give a quick overview of your session and how you prep and what you need from people?
So basically I need your birth date, your time, exact time if possible, and location of birth beforehand. And lately I don't prep that much because a lot of it's intuitive. I used to prep for hours, but it doesn't really happen anymore. So I will pull it up and I call in Lizzie's angels, guides, and ancestors that have her highest and best. I ask that everything can be embodied and come from the heart and be grounded and open to all energies that will serve her the best. And then I just go in that way. So that's basically how it works these days.
I've been part of this evolution with you. You've really just honed in so strongly to your intuitive abilities that were always there. I think you prepped all that time and then you didn't even need to, which is clear.
So much information in the chart too. So it's like, where do you even start to relay to get that information back to someone? So tuning in that way is really helpful. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's Stevie's gift is this knowing. So Lizzie, tell us, what did you learn?
So I've done astrology sessions before. I've done birth chart readings before. And with total respect to the craft, it's always come off a little bit frustrating because I don't understand it. I don't speak the language. I've never studied it. And most astrologers will spend a lot of time telling me Jupiter is conjunct this and it's in this house and like telling me all the words that mean absolutely nothing to me. And the thing that was the most profound and the most useful about Stevie is I don't even know if she mentioned that. If you ask me what my rising somebody is, I don't know because I don't need to know. What Stevie did was immediately go into calling me out in a really loving and gentle, but impactful way. And this is where your struggles are. This is where your strengths are. How do we keep you maximizing your strengths and help support you with your struggles? Mm-hmm. And it was like, I was completely naked And she was saying, this is what you love about your body. This is what you don't like. And we're going to teach you how to love it. I felt very seen and very comfortable with her saying, because it wasn't like she was like, oh shit, you really have this and this. It was more like, oh, this is where your work is in this lifetime. And in this chapter of your life, I think in our first session, Stevie, you said something like, Lizzi, you've been in this really hard, you'll be able to say it better than I do, but I've been in like some hard cycle for the past 30 years and the cycle's ending. Mind you, I'm 44.
Holy crap. What?
The bulk of my life. And it felt so validating.
Exactly.
And I wouldn't say I've had a hard life. I know that I live in privilege but energetically speaking. And then she was also talking to, okay, now that 30-year cycle is ending, here's what to expect moving forward. Here's where to really focus and put your energy. And also here's where to be a little more compassionate and patient with yourself, which is also not my strong suit. So our first session was, I felt very seen and very acknowledged. And also it really gave me a roadmap of where to then apply the work that I do on myself, as far as doing edits on myself and doing work on myself, of what to be looking at, really regarding like my shadow side, the parts and pieces that I don't love about myself. And then in our sessions after that, it was more focused, laser focused on, okay, in these dates, focus on this. And on these dates, this kind of stuff will come up. And you can harness it by doing this and this. So again, I don't know any of these planets' names or houses or conjunctions or any of the words. I just had notes on like from August 15th to August 21st, do this. It was so specific.
Isn't that so nice for someone to be like, here's what to focus on now.
You know what it was? I feel like other astrology sessions have been like a novelty, like almost like a parlor trick. Oh, that's cool. And that's interesting. There wasn't really anything that tangible for me to take away from it. And with Stevie, she gets right to the chase. I think Stevie and I are also very similar in this way. We like a tangible tool. We like to get into action. We are very motivated with give me the steps. So we work well together in that. I'm not looking for someone to rub my back and say, it's been a hard 30 years. I'm looking for them to say, it's been a hard 30 years. Here's what to do now. What's next? And that really nailed it for me.
It's the now what, right? Which is what you're both really good at. That's what makes working with both of you so different than working with a lot of people, maybe in each of your genres and modalities, because you can walk away with an understanding, validation, and the now what. That's huge.
I love what you said earlier, Lizzi, too, because it's for people who haven't had their birth chart done or read by anyone, it can seem very much like these are your characteristics. This is who you are. It doesn't say anything about that roadmap that it really gives you. It not only tells you like where you've been, but it tells you what car you're driving and where you are on that road, and then where you're headed, what bumps in the road there might be. So it really gives you that tangibility.
Even more than that, what car you're driving and why you're driving that car.
Yes.
Stevie, you can speak to this more than I can, but she was like, you're so massively intuitive and I can see it because of all these things happening here. And here's why you don't know it. And here's
it was
why.
almost like a blind spot, remember? Like it was just so normal to you. This reality is so normal to you because it's like who you are that you end up not realizing that it's such a massive gift, or you know what I mean?
Yeah. And people will say to me, have you always had this intuitive gift? And I always say, I don't know that other people don't.
Right.
It's not something that I like flip a switch on and it's on or it's off. And the way that Stevie was saying it to me was like, yeah, Lizzi, here's why. I can read it right here. I've met you once before this and I can read it in your chart. And that was so cool.
And I also want to point out that the way that you have been working with Stevie is more of her soul blueprint work, right? So I will say, even in Stevie's, if you just had your birth chart read, you will receive so much validation and you will receive guidance for the year ahead, let's say. But the difference is the way that you are working with her is in this very guided, ongoing way. I want to point that out. That's why it is so helpful for Stevie to really get in there and be able to give you this, here's what you do in these next couple weeks, and then keep going.
So as I said that I've had other astrology readings before, when my session with Stevie ended, the first session, the birth chart reading, and I don't know if I asked you a question or something, and you laughed and you said, Lizzi, there's a lot more I can do here. Let's set up our next session for this date. And in my mind, and for those of you listening, I was, what else is she going to tell me? Like, what is
Yes.
this going to do?
Yes.
Then we got on the phone. And so for those of you who are like me, who are listening, thinking, what does she actually tell you? Stevie, I would actually love to know if you're looking at my chart, like I assume that you're looking at a birth chart based on the day that I was born. And then in the sessions after that, you're looking at my chart based on the day, like present day. Is that how you do
Yeah,
it?
basically it's like a chart. The inner wheel is like your blueprint, like never changes. So the snapshot of who you were when the moment you were born. And then the outer wheel and how that's affected is the transit chart. So that's how the things that are always moving around. And then there's several other charts I'll look at too to get different takes on what does your year look like? What kind of moon cycle are you in? So I usually have 3 or 4 pulled up.
Okay, so guys, this is what I'm saying when we don't need to know the magic that she's doing,
Right.
and she's not wasting your time, like your session time, explaining it to you. Because frankly, for me, I don't want to learn how to do what you're doing. I have no interest in it. It seems so daunting to me. I love that the hour that I have with you is so packed with information that's useful to me, not you explaining all of that.
That's the thing. I have clients that want to learn. So we go on Zoom and we learn. But for clients that are not there to learn astrology, it's pointless. You know,
Yeah.
some clients want the lingo or want the,
You meet us where we are.
Yeah.
And you like that would have frustrated me if you had spent, and I've had that. I've had sessions where half the session is Jupiter is conjunct in this. And I'm like, I don't know. And frankly, I don't care. What does it mean?
When I see those charts, you'll pull up an app or something random and they'll give you your reading and it
Yeah.
makes no sense. And it is not personal.
well,
This
it's
is
like,
like-
reading French when you don't
Yeah,
know.
but, and that's the thing, Stevie, is you are able to translate it. And not only are you translating it, you're intuiting. So you are knowing exactly what Lizzie needs to hear right now. It's the
Yeah.
combination.
So it's also the combination of the person coming to you also with some specific questions about where they are as well.
That's
Which-
true.
At the very beginning of our session, Stevie said, are there any specific subjects you want me to focus on? And of course, I said love and career. And it was very clear. Like the insight that she gave me and where to be and when to be there and all of that was very clear.
And I do want to ask, and you may not know the answer, but Stevie will. You'll know your sun sign, but what else should we know about Lizzie? What's her rising sign and her moon sign for those that are interested in that?
Lizzie, do you know?
I don't.
I knew there's no way. There's no way that Lizzie knows.
Here's the thing too. When I'm doing a session, I don't remember because it's like when you're channeling something, sometimes I'll visually remember things or whatever, but not always.
It's too much brain space for me to hold it. Someone will call me a year after a session and say, remember when you said, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't. It's too much to hold.
Yeah. Well, I just thought maybe you had her chart up. So
I do. I just wanted to say that.
Okay. Got it.
So for those astrology people out there, Lizzie is a Sagittarius sun and a Gemini moon and a Gemini rising. And her moon is in the 12th house in case you're a nerd like me and want to know which side that's on. Hence her incredible information that comes in.
What does it mean when
Intuitive.
you're a double Gemini in that
Just
sense? Yeah.
Gemini, and they're opposite each other, right? So Sagittarius is on one side, Gemini's on the other. Gemini is all about being the student of life and pulling in knowledge, wisdom, information, and deep curiosity. Because of where it is in Lizzie's chart, it signifies those curiosities come from a very deep spiritual place. So it's not just like, how's the weather? Because sometimes Gemini can be like pretty surface, which isn't a bad thing. They're just very adaptable. But for Lizzie, it's deeper than that.
You're not a
And then being a Sagittarius sun is very much about finding the truth, understanding why she's here, experiencing life deeply in also like in a fun way too, not just so serious, and being a teacher. So Sag is the teacher and Gemini is the student. And so she's doing both.
Oh,
that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Did that resonate with you, Lizzie?
Oh, yeah. Like I get too bored if I'm doing the same thing for too long.
Yes.
I get antsy. I need to be learning. Plus, I love, as soon as I learn it, I want to teach it.
yeah. That is so true.
It's in a place in your chart. And for those nerds out there, her son's in the 6th house. So she's here to bring the truth down and bring the bigger picture into the practical world. How am I going to systemize this? What am I supposed to do with this? Basically, it's very grounded and embodied.
Wow. Just hearing that, and I know you go into so much more depth, but on that high level, it's helpful to hear and understand that about you, Lizzie. That's so cool.
Stevie, there was something that you said about there was like a cluster of somebody that was in something intuition.
Yeah, you have Uranus and Mercury together in Scorpio. And so it's like your lower mind and higher mind are always one. So like for you not to know the truth of the matter, and it's in Scorpio, which is like such a truth, get to the root cause of something so intense. For you not to have your mind know the truth of something, the authentic truth is that's unfamiliar to you. And most people don't have these two together. So for you, you're always, your radar for like authentic truth is always on.
That is so true.
Like bullshit. Nope, that's not
Come on.
like
Maybe I'm
instantly
just going
know
to
it.
tell you, this is helping all of us right now.
Yeah.
This was like one of the biggest takeaways that I am now remembering from that session. Stevie said to me, it must be really hard for you to go and play the surface game. And I was like, it's nails on a chalkboard to me. Everybody will be looking at something and saying, oh, look, the car is red. And I'm like, but it's blue. Why are we all pretending like it's red? And everyone's like, because she wants you to pretend like it's red. So just say that it's red. And I can't handle it. And to me, it has always felt like a detriment. Like it feels like a punishment and a curse that everyone else can play along. And I emotionally and energetically can't handle it.
And another layer too, Lizzie, is that you want to do something about it. There's like a level of you that's, and what? And like, how are we going to make this better? What are we going to do to perfect this situation? It's got to be frustrating. And it's also like the most incredible. This is like when you see Mercury and Uranus together, that's like a genius person, like truly. In wherever it is in their chart, there's like this depth of knowing, just like you can't escape the truth, basically.
So not to make it about me, but when it comes to my sessions, that is exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm saying the thing that you must already know, because how could you not know it? And Stevie gave me the words of, because they don't know it. So in an energy alignment, what I'm doing, it almost feels like it's unfair because I feel like I'm calling out the thing that is the most obvious and putting words to the thing that's the most obvious. And I don't know that it's not obvious to you. Try to be very mindful and cautious of saying it kindly.
Yes.
So that it can be received. That's another shadowy side of me, that it seems so obvious that I might say it too direct.
Don't you think that's interesting that you can see the shadow side of you within an astrology chart? I don't think that most people understand that you can see these levels, not only the shadow side, but you can also see past lives of Lizzie's or relationships that she came into this life and that she's having to work through. Stevie's able to see that. Not all astrologers can see that necessarily.
There were two huge. So I've obviously done past life sessions. I've had them done on me. One of the things that Stevie brought up was you've clearly been some kind of a healer or like this, a sorcerer in another lifetime and been, what was the word you used?
Persecuted.
Thank you. Yeah. Persecuted for it, which I did see in my past life session. And so there's a fear in really stepping into whatever my gifts or powers are in this lifetime because of the fear of being seen and then being persecuted again, which I've been working on for years and continue to have to do. And then in our last session, she was telling me that there have been so many patterns of falling so deeply in love and then my partner either being killed or dying. And that has been an ongoing theme for me in plant ceremonies that I've done, in dreams that I've had, in relationships that I've been in, that like for Stevie to then say it again, it's almost like I look around and I'm like, I hear you. I don't know how to clear it. I know. Show me what to do.
Yeah, the validation. Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah.
But in that sense, though, doesn't it help to know that? Like I know even in the sessions that I've had with Stevie too, she so sweetly and gently reminds me of the challenges that I've come here in this lifetime to overcome. And she puts it in a way that doesn't seem like it's a bad thing, although I might be judging myself for it. She has this great way of flipping it to know, no, this is past lifetime stuff. And you've come in this time with a slightly different script to learn a lesson.
And the another thing too, like this type of astrology I've studied is really about owning that you chose this map. For if that's the biggest belief, and for me, it's one of my biggest beliefs in life is that I'm always pulling in what I need, what I signed up for, right? So I'm always trying to get people to come back to, wait, this challenge is valid and real and true and it sucks, but also this is why, and this is like how you can work through those roadblocks, or sometimes they're much worse than roadblocks, but yeah, pains.
Yeah. And I would say most of us are always thinking, why did I choose this?
Mm-hmm.
But yes, that does help to see it like in a more tangible way, I think.
And just to add to it, this helps a lot with family members and just to be able to understand. So if you're a mom with a child that you don't quite understand why they're making choices, it really can help to understand why they came in and how you might be able to guide them in a better way. So it's so helpful.
Yeah, Lizzie, what most surprised you out of the sessions you've had so far?
I think I was most surprised with how actionable the information became after our birth chart. Like our birth chart session was mind-blowing in how accurate it was and how just clear and concise it was. The sessions after it, I was shocked at the dates that she was able to give me and the specifics. And there was actually a moment where Stevie and I hopped on the phone and I was in this really gnarly, heartbreaking kind of issue with a sibling. And when we got on the call, Stevie was like, okay, so your son is moving into the house of family and siblings. So you're going to be shedding light on something that you need to see in a new way. And I almost hung up the phone. It just was, and that's exactly what happened, right? No one was right or wrong. It was just seeing things in a new light where I was like, oh, I need to accept that. I need to take that. And that was exactly what Stevie said, was like, the sun moving in there is shining light so that you can see this in a new way.
But the synchronicity of the fact that—
That's what I'm saying. It was,
I know, it was
days
just
before.
unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah. And then she's like, what's going on? And I'm like, well, since you ask. So it just felt, again, so validating. And also I did map this out. I did plan all of this and this is where I am on it. And because of the work that I do and watching all these past life sessions, I'm also so clearly understanding there's no finish line. And this is just where I am right now on the path. And so to have a little guidance of how to make the path a tish easier is really helpful. And to not feel crazy as I go through it, like, where did this come from? Oh, it came from right here.
That's right. And even what you said about how the last 30 years of your 44, you've been in this certain stage. And now let's say you're entering a new one, or even for the month you're in, the light is shining on one aspect and you can get that kind of guidance. I think that's transformational to know that's available to us. And that there's Stevie who can help translate. Because to your point, there's so much to it. Astrology in itself is hard. And then to have these different levels of it, you need the translator and the intuitive of Stevie.
And there's the clarity and tangibility of it. And what you were saying before, Lizzie, it's like on those days when you're just like, what the heck is wrong with me? Of knowing that there is something that you can physically almost track to your life experience that is triggering that, and that it's something to know. And yes, you might be emotionally attached to it, but there's also technically a reason why.
Yeah. The thing that I want to say is that I've done the things where I've signed up for the daily astrology newsletter, where we can all figure out a way to make it work within our story or within our life. And it felt like with Stevie, she wasn't talking about anybody else. She was looking at my chart, talking about me, getting specific about me. And once she knew my birth chart, then hopping on once a month and getting into, okay, here's what's up now and here's what's up now. She already knew the foundation of who I was and where I was wanting to go, not just from a soul level, but from a 3D ego level. This is where I want to be. And this is what I want to be. Even with relationships, she was like, yeah, it makes sense that you crave relationship because this is and this is and this. You are here for that. That is who you are. So again, it felt like I was seen and then there was something actionable to put to it.
I'm curious from a relationship perspective. What's the guy?
Okay, look at my chart. When is he walking in the door?
Yeah, come on, Lizzie. What's the latest on that?
When did I plan that for?
No pressure at all.
Was there any insight into that?
Libra season's pretty good season to meet somebody, start dating somebody, I have to say. But it's just like for Lizzie, she has these two really kind of different energies around relationships. One just craves it, just loves it, just desires a teammate and a partnership where you're balanced and in harmony. And it's such a strong seriousness that she carries. And then there's this other energy that can sometimes attract the people that need work or she could save, and it's why she's a healer too, right? The relationships in the chart are just our work relationships too. They're all relationships. So, and it's really going to attract a lot of soulmate people to Lizzie in this lifetime that she feels deeply connected with. But it also can become a situation where they either dissolve away really quickly all of a sudden, or she ends up having to be in relationship with someone who's a big victim, essentially. And so it's like balancing that shadow and light side of Neptune, which is pulling in somebody that's so deeply soul connected and spiritual and creative and compassionate without having to save them. So it's tricky.
What felt grounding to me was when she said, because of whoever's and whoever, that's why you crave it so much. It's not me just being
That's
of
so
like
helpful.
society telling me I needed it. She was like, no, because my whole thing is, look, if I'm not meant to be in a relationship, just let me stop wanting it. I'm fine being alone, but it's the craving it and not having it that sucks. And Stevie reading my chart was like, no, there's something very real here. This isn't just you buying into society telling you should be in a partnership.
It's like your deepest pleasure, basically.
Wow. As your friend, that's really actually helpful to hear for you, because I know it is something, it feels like you can't help that desire.
If you've had past lives where you've had that depth of relationship, the loss of that is significant.
Deep.
You're going through a lifetime now with, at least at this very moment, right, this second, without knowing who that person is or having that person. And that is.
And also the fear of when he comes, will he be taken away? That's the double bind that I literally doing edits on it yesterday of like, how do I make this okay? And it's been constant work for me.
And that was actually the next question, right? Is how do you complement what you are learning and understanding and the to-dos from Stevie with what you know and how to do with your own abilities?
So I got to say, Stevie and I now have a good number of clients that see both of us regularly, and their progression is unbelievable because I feel like Stevie gives them the blueprint and the chart, and then I can help them clean up the stuff that's either in their shadow side or that they came here to work on. It's Stevie and I are tag teaming. She's the general practitioner and I'm the specialist. And like, we're going in and helping each other to help elevate the client faster. So for me, the way that I've done it for myself is I am clear on where my blind spots are or what is being illuminated that month. And then when I'm doing edits on myself, that's what I'm focusing on. That specific theme or issue that's coming up is, what am I not seeing here? It's time to see it. And it's also time to call that part of myself home and stop shunning it and judging it. And okay, now I need to accept this part of me that is like a 50s housewife who wants to be in relationship and not completely give myself, but find that new way of being in a balanced relationship because that is who I am. Yeah. And I can stop fighting it.
I think the example that you gave of the double bind with, that was such, and I got that loud and clear. It was a really good one. So
there was actually one other double bind. And again, this has come up in like plant medicine and all the things, but with my career, knowing that I've had lifetimes and I've tried clearing them. Again, me working on me is really hard. I can't focus that well and I'll fall asleep. It's hard work.
Yeah, I would think so.
But in a past life situation, I saw that I was out living in a forest away from town, and I would be called in secretly to help people, usually as like a midwife would call me in to help a mother and a baby heal if they weren't going to survive the birth and the delivery. And then I would retreat and go back and hide because I knew that if I was found out or if anybody was found out to be working with me, we would be killed. And that was like a very clear past life that I saw in a session. So I do have this thing that I'm constantly fighting of, yes, own my gifts and own what I can do. But there's also a fear that I have of being called a charlatan or it not working for someone. And what does that say about me? The last thing that I want to do is be taking advantage of somebody. And even though that's never happened in my present career, the fear is lingering there from past life stuff that I want to have a thriving, booming business so that I can have fun. And I know that I'm here to have fun and to experience joy and to be creating really amazing experiences for people. But then there's the fear of being found, right? Like I'm always in that push pull of yes, step into your truth, but wait, what if somebody's mad?
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're probably hiding with Karen and I because one of our past lives, somewhere in Spain, apparently.
We
and
were
hiding in the countryside.
That's like, you think of all the witches burned at the stake, like we knew to hide.
Us.
But yeah.
I feel like, and I think that's why so many of us struggle with that is because we've been called out for.
Yes, but I also think we're at a tipping point now where like universally we're being called up. Either you're going to step into this or this is all going to fall apart. And we really need you to step into this. So my work that I'm doing on myself is really trying to not force myself, but acknowledge, yeah, that fear is there for good reason. I love her for being there. I'm going to ask her to just sit next to me instead of driving the truck. I'm going to drive the truck. And if we get in trouble, I have a new coven to help me. And I literally have an email folder of testimonials. When I start getting scared or I start getting nervous, I go back and I read that to remember, oh, the work works. This isn't bullshit. This actually changes lives and I can see it here.
Yeah.
And then it reminds me like, okay, I'm safe. I can keep going.
But how much more rich now the information is with the astrology and with what you're doing, right? It's just so much deeper.
I've also reached out to Stevie and said, I'm getting ready to launch this thing, or I want to put this program together. Can you look at my chart? Or I'm looking at working with these people. What do you think of this? I've definitely been using Stevie in that way as essentially like a business coach to help me as an entrepreneur figure out the when and the where and the how and the what. And that's been massive.
Yeah, just the knowing of what's best for you. What are the right dates? What are the right months?
Yeah. And by the way, if it's not the right date and I need to launch it, she can also say, do this to help bring that energy in, right? It's not you have to wait 6 months to be able to do that. It's going to do it now. Add some of this sparkle.
That's right.
There was a stretch of time where Stevie said to me, I keep bringing up Jupiter because it's the only name I know. She kept saying, literally talk to Jupiter, wear this color, talk to him. This is his energy. This is his spirit. And so I set alarms in my phone to remind me to talk to Jupiter that week. And it was a great week.
I love that. Yeah.
Really
That's the significance of Jupiter. Why?
She had Jupiter on her ascendant, on her rising. And so whenever you have a planet cross over that point of your rising sign, it's almost like you start to embody them and their energy becomes more physical and tangible for you. That's a very good transit. It happens once every 12 years. So you want to lean into it. This is where I found with planets that are more beneficial, like Jupiter, you want to work with them. Otherwise, you'll feel it. It's great. Leaning in actually makes a difference. You know what I'm saying? With the challenging planets, you can't help but avoid and see them everywhere. But with the beneficial ones, it's like you want to lean into that energy and the planets want to work with us. So it's like, why not engage with them?
And Jupiter is like the giver of abundance and good luck, right?
Yes.
I also happened to have been in LA that week. And when she looked at my astrocartology, like where on the planet things work, LA for me was a really great place for expanding my business and networking for business stuff and like just being out and being more social. And that whole week I had meetings set up with people to collab with and people to work with and stuff like that. It all just lined up. That week I happened to have been in the place where it was good for business and Jupiter was there somewhere in my chart about my career. And it just felt very divine and I felt very supported by the universe and by Stevie, by the planets and all the things.
We'll have to talk about astrocartography on another.
I just wrote that down. I
But
want
I
to.
think the fact that Stevie does all of these things makes it so fun. Had I just done one session, I would have been wowed and I would have walked away with a lot. But the whole blueprint, Stevie, I think you offer a package, right? What is the package?
4-month-long package. Yeah.
Which is basically what I've been doing. And so every month we do another session. And in each session, it's a different twist on like, okay, now here's what's happening now. And here's where to feel it into it now and how to make it work for your life right now. And by doing that, it wasn't just a fun, cool parlor trick takeaway.
Right. I have one more thing before we get to Stevie's work with you. I want to know if you discussed your Saturn return, because I feel like that is something that usually ends up being something of a transformative time in your life.
We did not.
But that was one of the only astrology things that I've ever known about. Stevie can explain what it is.
So Saturn return is when you're like 29, 30 years old, when Saturn comes back to where he was when you were born. So he returns to himself. And it's really, astrologically speaking, when we start to embody Saturn's energy, which means we become real adults, basically. And Saturn is the energy of responsibility and karma and time and get to work and build something strong, build a legacy. And Lizzi, you are facing Saturn this year, just in an opposition. So we did talk about Saturn a lot. We didn't go back to like when you were 29, 30. I don't believe.
I don't think so. But what does that mean that it's in my opposition now?
It basically means that you're in one of those 7-year itch years when Saturn makes an aspect to himself and you're climbing a mountain. You're like walking up you're building a new foundation and a structure, but it's not necessarily the easiest of years.
And okay, can I tell you, I know what was going on in Lizzi's life when she was 29, 30, which was very transformative. And where I think for you, you are you now, where that was like you were a different you before in terms of what you're doing and how you live your life and that kind of thing. Yeah.
It's fun though to think about those milestones, right? Like I know where I was when I was turning 29, 30. I was your divorce. So I can see how trajectory wise, that is just a really good thing to look at in your overall milestone of astrology. Shall we transition then and talk about our session, Stevie, with Lizzi?
Should we really quickly, Lizzi, can you talk about how you work?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So when I first work with someone, I do a session called an energy alignment, where we both lay down on our couches. And as Stevie was saying, I read what is more obvious to me, but really what I'm reading is where you have stuck energy, where things are going on, where your soul, your guides, your angels are trying to get your attention, where you're just so comfortable and so used to being in discomfort that it's hard to maybe recognize it. And so by putting words to it, it immediately starts to shift. And really what I'm doing is I'm allowing your conscious mind to see what your subconscious is running on. And the universe is saying yes energetically to what your subconscious is running on, not your consciousness always. So it's an hour. I usually take the first 40 minutes going through head to toe and energetically what's happening in your physical and emotional body and what energetically is tied to that, as a means of getting you to start recognizing and realizing what's been stuck, why it's been stuck, how it's been serving you that it was stuck, and also how to transcend it, like how to move from it. And that's the first session. And then if we decide, then we move on to what I call energy edits, which is where I start showing the client how to change that old inner child programming that you learned as a little person. And that's really where the massive transition can happen, because again, your conscious mind is becoming aware of what your subconscious is running. And as soon as that happens, like there's an instant shift that now you've seen it, you can't unsee it. And we start moving past it because you see it's actually not serving you anymore and you can start moving. So with Stevie, it's always interesting when I work on other witchy, intuitive beings. I don't remember a ton of your first session, but if you want to talk about it, I'm sure.
The first session was so fascinating because I love seeing the visual of where you're seeing things and like how they show up. And I remember there was something like at the base of my tailbone, which is so interesting because I broke my tailbone when I gave birth, and it's always like a place that I hold trauma. So funny. Not
wow.
Funny,
an ow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, a lot of the places you were seeing things were like, I've actually had physical manifestations there. So I find that really interesting. Makes perfect sense. But you found something that was holding me back from stepping forward and you pulled it out. And I remember feeling like such a deep relief in my body. I'm a very physical senses person, being a triple Taurus. So the whole way of you doing it in the body was just so beneficial to me. And also, just side note, Lizzi makes you feel incredibly safe, which is a hard thing for me to feel, being a triple Taurus. She just holds this really loving, nurturing container. No matter what we were doing together, it always felt, oh my God, I can actually relax. I can actually ground. But in that session, you pulled that out. And I remember you speaking about how I'm nervous. And this is literally my soul's karma back and forth. I'm nervous that I'm not going to show up for my family and my work equally in a balanced way. So I'm not necessarily giving either of them my all. And that's literally in astrology, that's my north and south nodes being in the 10th and 4th houses, which is the same for Lizzi. She has the same.
Wow.
North and south nodes, not in the same sign, but we have similarities here. So we will work ourselves to the bone. And you were calling that out by saying you're not fully stepping into any role because you're scared of not showing up perfectly or right. And that was like the gist of our first session. And I remember just feeling so physically different. I felt lighter. I definitely felt rocked because she just drink a lot of water, take a bath, do all these things. We really did some serious work, but I remember feeling so much different and then like really getting called out for your subconscious activity, which in my opinion, everything she's told me, I know this. I guess I don't realize how much it's running or driving the bus, but I know that's maybe because I know my astrological chart, but it's mirrored. Everything she's saying is in the chart. And yeah, it was incredibly powerful. I literally felt completely different.
It's hard to put a tangible onto the impact of the initial session that I do, which I completely know and understand. And I generally say, I'm not going to tell you something that you don't know because I'm just communicating for your soul. So of course, you know this. It's you telling me to tell you. It's just a different version of yourself that you haven't been willing to listen to. And our soul communicates with us through our physical and our emotional bodies. So either it's going to create some kind of physical discomfort or an emotional discomfort. And most of us are really good at ignoring those until it gets bad enough. And especially I have found as women, we're very good at just keep on going, just keep trucking. And so I think a lot of what I'm doing in that initial session is calling it out so that you can acknowledge, oh yeah, that is happening. I didn't realize that was happening. That is there.
Big time. And then we did sessions together where we did the edits. We went into a lot of childhood pain and stuff came up that I completely forgot about. I'm like, oh, remember when you were in first grade and the teacher thought you were crying because Jesus died on the cross, but it was actually that you had an earache and she pulled you to the front of the class. Just like weird stuff that totally traumatized me. And I was holding on to. It was really interesting seeing the ages that came up and the stuff that came up around those edits. And Lizzi gave such beautiful words to what energy I was actually holding on to. I don't remember the words now because we moved through all of them, but I definitely remember you being very specific about the things that I was holding on to. And then I completely felt validated. It was like you being like, okay, little Stevie, like all those were real and true and they messed with you and they created these stories and now you can let them go. You can not let them drive the bus. It was incredible.
So for the people listening, there's nothing more irritating to me than when someone tells me to just let it go. And I will say in an edit, what I'm doing is I'm starting you at the present day and giving you a specific fear or belief to think about. So it might be like for Stevie, the fear of being seen, as powerful as she is and as intuitive and all the gifts that she has, the fear of that being seen, and then the responsibility of what that means if you're carrying that. If I have all of that gift, I then need to do something with it. And if I have the responsibility to do everything with it, what about my family? So in the fear of being seen, I started her at her present day. And then when you connect to the vibration of it, not the actual being seen, but the fear of it, the anticipation of it, that butterfly anxiety feeling about the future. And we basically watch a movie of your life where we start at the present tense and then work our way all the way back. And I'm guiding you through the whole thing. And eventually I'll say, okay, ask to be shown where the origin story is. When did you learn this as a little kid? Because it was smart, right? You were seen, it didn't feel good. You wanted to remember to anticipate it so that it didn't happen like this again, to prevent the pain. So again, way to go, inner child, little girl self. It's just that you're not recognizing that now in your adulthood, you have new tools. And I know that everybody listening is intellectually saying, of course, I know that. I know you know that in your present day. Your inner child doesn't know it. And that's who's running your energy. And the universe is saying yes to your energy, not to what you're saying now.
That is huge, what you just said.
Yeah, because you're not trying to repeat the pain from the past. So you're just trying to avoid it all the time, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
And you end up avoiding all the things that you're saying you want.
Yes.
Because on the other side of getting the thing that you want is the idea that something bad might happen.
And it did.
Yeah.
And then we get to walk through those moments. And I was really surprised at what came up. I was like, oh my gosh, that really had such a big impact on my life.
That's a really important thing to say. You're afraid of it because it happened. You're not making it up out of nowhere. You were embarrassed. You were called out. You were shamed. You were judged. Whatever the thing is, you can't see it anymore. You don't even remember what happened. You just remember the feeling. It's like scar tissue in your body. So in that first session, I'm clearing out as much as I can on an energetic level. And I know that this sounds insane, that being over Zoom, I would be able to do this. And I don't know why it works this way or how it works, but I'm telling you, it works. And I'm pulling out as much as I can. And I set the intention before we start that anything that I can't pull out, that we get as much detailed, specific information on what you need to do to then move it if it's not there for me to do.
What just jumped in my head was the whole idea of breaking your tailbone when you were giving birth, and then this whole life lesson around balance of family and career. How interesting that was the thing that Lizzi tuned into as being one of those places that you were holding so much pain and scar tissue there. Like that was a really important message for you to have.
For sure. Big time. And Lizzie's found too. I remember the last session we did, Lizzi, we did an energy
alignment. It was right before the equinox. There was a lot going on. It was before we did our workshop. And Stevie was, I don't have the energy to do edits. Can you just do this?
Yeah, it was really interesting. There was a lot around basically, I'm not allowed to move forward. So I'm scared to move forward. And then there was like crumbs or something in my right ribs. And that's where I had cancer.
I was going to ask about that if that came up, Stevie, for you.
Yeah. And then you saw something in my throat, like all places that I really struggle.
Still holding on.
It shows you so many different aspects. One, on the physical level, while that might be cleared out energetically, how deep that's in, because you've had other energy type of healings before. And then Lizzie's gone in there, you've gone in there yourself and tried, and it's still, and as we all know, it's like there's so many levels to it.
Yeah.
So these are things that we end up working on for so long.
And it's interesting working with Lizzie because it's much deeper than just like Reiki. Like she's in the
Yes.
Yeah.
quantum, which I know is like hard to comprehend for some people, but you're talking to guides, you're seeing things. It's so much different than just moving your chakras energy and clearing it out. We ended up going, I remember she held me on like her wing, and I was like, oh my God, this is the safest I've felt in so long.
It's so
And you're like,
powerful. Yes.
and I remember feeling so safe. That was the first time because I've done like other past life regressions and stuff, and it's been really hard for me. My body ends up feeling like I'm spinning, like I'm drunk. I just don't like to leave my body. And Lizzie was telling me that she thinks it's because I don't want to revisit what was in the past. Too scared, very Taurus. But I remember just like laying on her wing and feeling so safe that we ended up talking to my soul a little bit, Lizzie. And I
You
remember
did? I didn't think you did.
We didn't do a past life session, but that last alignment was pretty wild.
And I got to feel what it felt like to be that free. And so since then, Lizzie, I don't think I told you this. So every night I've been like, okay, I want to connect with her, just pull in the energy. And it feels so present. And I don't know if you guys had the same experience when you did sessions with Lizzie, but like when I felt my soul, I just felt so detached from all the little things of the humanness. And I just felt so light and just so inobservant and just present. It was almost like I was in a deep meditation, but then with my own essence. You know,
Yeah. I remember this giddiness because there was such joy and happiness and love that
Love. Yeah.
to connect at that level to on a day-to-day basis.
There's been a lot of bringing people home, whatever their home was. And I know that for a lot of us first learning about this other world and the spiritual stuff, it feels a little, what does that mean? You're going home to your soul. You're tapping back into that, I think, is what we're all longing for. And we think that having a relationship or having more money or having the career that we want or the relationship with our children that we want, that's going to do it. And that's not going to do it. It's not going to fulfill it. What you're looking for is to know the oneness and the unconditional love. And again, I know that from a human perspective, those are just words. And until I can help someone feel it, as soon as they feel it, there's this, oh.
And I can revisit. I can go back there.
And you can revisit that feeling every day, every single day. And when you feel it yourself, rather than someone else telling you how it feels, it is just a game changer.
It's the way I assume it's different. I don't have a child. And it's the way I assume the three of you can tell me what it's like for someone to take your brand new baby and lay her on your chest. And I can imagine what I think that would feel like, but I haven't felt it, right? Someone speaking it versus experiencing it at that level of depth and profound emotion, you got to walk it yourself.
That's where it becomes embodied.
Yeah.
And for me, that's everything. Once I have the feeling of something, then I'm like, okay, I got it. I got it. I've made it now physical. You have a way of bridging the two, Lizzie, that's like really beautiful because we get to get a taste of it in our humanness.
I'm so glad, Stevie, that you brought up, because one of the questions I know Karen and I had, knowing that it's difficult for you to really get yourself into that type of regression. Because I was going to say to Lizzie, is this common? And why do you think this happens where it's so difficult for some people to be regressed?
A lot of people will say to me, I don't want you to work on me because I don't want you to see, either there's like shame or judgment of what I'm going to see, which I got to say, I am cleaning out my own mess on the regular. There is nothing perfect over here. So I have no judgment. I have nothing bad to say about anything that I've seen about anybody's stuff. And I also think I'm very honored that you would be willing to sit with me. So I'm absolutely coming from it with a place of, okay, let me just hold your hand and let's see what we find. And as far as the fear of being regressed, Stevie and I still haven't done a past life, and I'm still letting her find her way to be.
Even as you just said, the fact that you were able to feel comfortable and secure enough to sit on Lizzie's wing and have that conversation with your soul. Like, and I thought what you said, what was interesting about maybe she doesn't want to see.
I think it's comment.
I was just going to ask, have you had any insights in your own chart and looking at your own birth chart in your past lives to see if there's anything there in terms of what you might be carrying in your past lives that could be potentially preventative?
Yeah, a lot of horror, honestly. Like a lot of watching and feeling responsible for a lot of other people's stuff. I think that in many past lifetimes I was a leader. And so it's also my problem in this lifetime is feeling like I can't fully step into that because there's too much responsibility for other people's stuff. And it's happened, I think, in past lifetimes where people have died from that. And then also the other thing is I know I've had a lot of past lifetimes where we died of hunger. I'm not saying every lifetime was woe is me, but there was a lot of physical trauma. And I'm scared that if I feel it because I'm such a physical person, that's like such a thing for me as feeling safe. And Lizzie's the first person I felt safe enough to lay down with. And that wasn't just working on me from a Reiki place, from like that level. So yeah,
the piece that I would say, and as much respect as I have for that and how hard that would be to see in past lives, the thing that I think makes this different is that I'm working on you while you're there. So all that trauma that you are seeing from a bird's eye perspective. So when I'm doing these sessions with you, you're not reliving it. You're witnessing it as if you're watching a movie. And while you're doing that, I'm asking permission to clear off where it is still running in your 3D body to let that pain go. Because you're not like Stevie specifically, she's got like a coil and a sling thing that's stuck in her back. So as she moves forward, there's something equally pulling her back. And it's going to be frustrating because it's the knowing that you have this gift to move forward and to really help a significant amount of people and not wanting the responsibility and the weight of that because of stuff that's happened in the past that you're carrying in the present. And this intellectually, of course, but because I can help your tailbone, the gravel in your ribs, because I can help clear some of it while we're there, it won't feel as weighted on you now. It doesn't mean it didn't happen. And it doesn't mean that it's not valid to fear it. Again, it just means you're calling them to the table instead of letting them drive the bus. So it's like all those past lives are currently driving your bus and preventing you from stepping into what you're here for. And we also saw in your last session how much your family actually benefits when you step forward in this lifetime, that you're actually totally paving the way.
They're not going to suffer from me doing it, basically.
They're waiting for you to do it so that they can ascend as well. I also start each one of those past life quantum healings by saying, first of all, if nothing comes up, there's plenty of other stuff that I can be working on while we're in here. And also, Stevie, knowing that you feel it so viscerally, I would have you in my wings first. I would make sure you were protected. I would cocoon you first. And the second you felt uncomfortable, we'd be out. Robin even sat up in her session and was like, I'm done.
I did.
Like, hey, but lay back down. So
I know.
Just because you're in doesn't mean you're stuck. If you were feeling it too much physically and I couldn't ground it and take it off of you, I'd get you the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
Another thing too, Lizzie, you ended up seeing that I got to go to a room with the planets this past session. Remember? Like we got to go to this room. It looks like a donut.
Please, what?
If we're talking about it, you didn't go to a room with the planets in it. You are the container of the planets.
Oh, I
That
love
is the
that.
you.
I love that for you, Stevie.
Can you not start with that?
I'm having a hard time accepting this, like how Lizzie says it. I'm like, what do you mean? I just like.
It was like I saw this like Star Wars ship and Stevie is the thing and the planets dance within that.
Oh my God, I have the chill. I have the chill coming down.
It was wild. Yeah.
That's so beautiful.
That's
And
why it's not like you only hear certain planets. You hear all of the planets. You understand where they all are. You can feel where they all are because it's like me saying, Robin, can you feel your left knee? Of course you can feel your left knee. Stevie is the container and all of that exists within.
That's hard for me to comprehend a little bit.
Not for the people
and like
who had sessions with you, though.
That's true. It makes me want to cry. It feels so resonant.
I think I cried in the session. I got choked up.
I want to cry because that's truth to me.
The universe wants you to know that it recognizes you.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's so beautiful. I wasn't expecting that.
This is nuts.
Stevie.
Wow. I think we hopped on with you guys. We had a meeting with you right afterwards and Stevie was like, I don't know what the fuck just happened. Yeah.
Yep.
It is a huge thing to process. I get it.
And again, the responsibility of it, of what the fuck do I do with it? What does this mean?
Well, Lizzie, you're so good at that. You literally speak to my soul's, my karma and dharma. And I mean, everything that you like hold at a big picture is like what my soul is here working on. That is my biggest hang up. And it shows up everywhere.
And that's why you've met the two of you have come together now, right? At the right time in both of your journeys here to help.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I
I
just
want to
wanna-
know where we've had past lives, Lizzie.
Yeah. I will say that the work, when people say to me, so how does this work? Okay, so we understand all this, we get all this information. Again, back to the now what is now I have someone holding my hand and I'm holding Stevie's hand to say, let's just take one more step and see what happens. And let's just take one more piece of, I'm going to let myself be seen 10% more than I was last month. And I'm going to be 10% more vulnerable with my clients, with my work, with my family, with my friends, myself. And if my nervous system can handle it, then I'll go one more step. And that's the regular sessions that we're doing is we're helping you clear that stuff away so that you can just take one more step. Because that's what the whole point of being in the human form is, to keep taking those baby steps. Stevie and I are working with the type of people who are ready to do the work and take the baby steps. We're not going to rip the Band-Aid off and we're not going to shock your nervous system, but we are going to say, okay, let's go one more step. It's like you're going to the edge of the diving board, but you're jumping into a vat of love. And we're just taking one baby step at a time to get you there. But you have to be willing to take the step, because Stevie and I aren't interested in shoving you off the diving board.
What you're touching on for everyone is, for so many of us who feel we may not understand what our purpose is, we feel like we're stuck. Yeah, there's things that we can do to distract ourselves from that. But that is the reason we're here. And you guys, with both of the tools that you offer, allow us to dig into that and really, like you were saying, Steve, see the blueprint of why we're here and then how do we heal through it with specific things. It's not all the woo that people talk about. It's very specific.
The funniest part of all of this is that Stevie and I are so non-woo and we're so cutthroat when it comes to just get to the point.
Yeah, that is true. You are.
You're right, Karen, that I am saying, yes, you can stay distracted. And I know you're so busy and I know there's so much going on, and nothing will ever be more important than this work, because it will change everything. You won't be so busy anymore. You won't be running at 100 miles an hour and not feeling anything. You will be appreciating every moment in every day and all of the little things in between. And you'll actually be appreciating the life that you've been working for, but you have to choose to do the work.
You have to. No one is going to do it for you. And if you are feeling unfulfilled, unhappy, at a crossroads, all the things, and you expect anything to be different if you don't change things, it's never going to happen. So these are the ways in which you can feel love and fulfilled and in alignment with where you've chosen even before you came into this life to be on, right? Get back on that path by talking about this and by reaching out to both and or either of you. You're making a choice for yourself. And yes, you have to be willing to do the work. And you have to know the only person that can heal yourself is yourself. These are always in these resources to help you heal yourself. And at the end of the day, though, you have to be willing to do it. It's so rewarding. And then once you start, you can't stop.
What I've loved about this experience is that in knowing all this, I see myself differently. I see myself not as a victim or having these bad qualities that I need to fix. I look at myself as this beautiful soul that's come in here to really learn things. And so some of my tendencies that people may judge as not so great, even myself, I appreciate them in a different way, because it's, oh, that's why I have that. And I find I'm not as quick to judge myself as harshly as I was before. And I appreciate some of the qualities that I have that I thought at one point were weak or not the strong things. And I appreciate that about myself now in a new way.
I think you both talked about that a little bit too, Stevie and Lizzie. What you just said, Karen, there's these parts where you thought it was a detriment to you or something, and it's actually not at all. It helps you make you love yourself more. We can't wait to hear more. And really, we encourage everybody to reach out to both of you. And we'll be working with both Stevie and Lizzie on theseekingcenter.com in the coming months. So be on the lookout for experiences, products, and inspo that is coming your way. You can be the first to know by signing up for our newsletter at theseekingcenter.com/newsletter. And I know it was mentioned in our conversation today, but Stevie and Lizzie have a course. Do you want to talk about that for just a sec?
So it's called Shadow to Light, and it's a pre-recorded course that you walk yourself through with Lizzie and I working together, and we go through a couple of astrological placements that you hold your shadow and you understand where you get really stuck and what you're here to transform at a deep soul level. And so you get that guidance astrologically. And then Lizzie.
So Stevie basically points out where to find those placements in your chart. So she's going to show you how to read your own chart and find those. And then I immediately go in and walk you through the edits to clear those blocks. So we show you how to locate them and then immediately how to clean them up in the course.
And you explain what a shadow is. So for those listening or watching who don't know what that means, you go into that. You also help people read and find their own birth charts. That's another aspect of it. So it's this combination. It's another way to start and open the door for yourself into this work. And we'll have the link for that in our show notes. So you can find out more about one-on-one coaching, energy alignments, past life quantum healing, and Lizzie's other offerings at LizzieCutler.com. And you can also follow her on Instagram at Lizzie Cutler. You can visit StevieCalista.com to find out more about working with Stevie on your soul blueprint, natal birth charts, or to sign up for her incredible astrology updates. And you can also follow her at Farmhouse Moon on Instagram. We'll have all the links in our show notes. And we're so grateful for you both in our lives and so excited that you've come to work together and on each other. So
Thanks to you guys.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having us.
That's an honor and pleasure. Thank you.